Well, things going smoothly here at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, site of the 2012 baseball winter meeting, as our coverage continues here in Nashville. Welcome to ESPN.com's coverage of the 2012 baseball winter meetings. John Shambi, Jim Bowden, and Jason Stark. And free agency, obviously the hot topic at the winter meetings, but right now the big news of the day involves a New York Yankee, and it involves Alex Rodriguez, an injury. A-Rod, it looks like, is going to have surgery, and for more information on that, we bring in from ESPNNewYork.com, Andrew Marchand. And Andrew, as far as this situation, what's the latest on A-Rod?
Well, Alex Rodriguez is going to be out until at least June. 4 to 6 months is the recovery time. He's going to have surgery on his left hip. Now, you remember he had surgery back in 2009 on his right hip. This is the opposite hip. So now he's going to have surgery on both of his hips. He's going to enter this season. He's going to turn 38 this year. He still has $114 million left on that contract. 5 years. It goes through 2017. So the Yankees are going to have to find somebody, maybe a Jeff Keppinger, to play third base. And then when Alex Rodriguez comes back, who knows how effective he'll be. We saw in the playoffs he was 0 for 18 against right-handed pitching, struck out 12 times in the playoffs against righties. So this is a big blow to the Yankees' plans because of how much money they owe A-Rod.
Yeah, the contract, a big part of this situation. We'll see how the Yankees end up handling it. But, Jason Stark, what about that contract going forward?
Well, I want you to think about this, Boog. The Yankees owe Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter $45 million just next year. And when you start thinking about the health issues that come with both of those guys, I mean, right now, it's possible their opening day left side of the infield is, what, Eduardo Nunez and Jason Nix? I don't think that's happening. They're the Yankees. So, Jim, you tell me, what are their options?
Well, Brian Cashman's already been working on it. Of course, the Yankee GM knew this was going to come down. Basically, he's been out there pursuing Stephen Drew. Could play him at short, maybe move Jeter to third or have Drew play third base as well. He's talked with the agents for Marco Scutaro. There have been some rumors that they possibly might even think about Kevin Youkilis for a stopgap for a year where he could DH if A-Rod comes back halfway through the year. They're also looking at trades. Jed Gurko of the San Diego Padres, Anthony Rendon of the Washington Nationals, two young third basemen they'd like to have, but the problem, Boog, is do they have enough to trade for those top players?
Well, one of the other pieces of news from the day, the Yankees' rival, the Boston Red Sox. They've made a move, 3 years, $39 million, and they have signed Mike Napoli, the former Texas Ranger now. And for more on Mike Napoli's departure from Texas, we bring in Richard Durrett, the Rangers beat reporter from ESPNDallas.com. And what about that move, Richard?
Well, the Red Sox get him for 3 years and $39 million pending a physical, which I'm told will take place on Wednesday. What it does is it gives them a power hitter in the middle of that lineup, a guy that will probably play more first base than catcher based on the roster situation in Boston. But in a pretty small sample size, guys, he hit very well in Fenway Park, had 7 homers and 17 RBIs in something like 17 or 18 games. So this is a guy that's comfortable there, albeit small sample size. For the Rangers, it means they're still looking for a catcher. Last night they signed Giovanni Soto. I'm told that's for $2.75 million with another $250,000 in incentives. So that does give them a catcher, but they need another bat, another catcher. They wanted Mike Napoli, but I think in the end the 3 years and the average of $13 million was enough. And remember this, the Rangers decided not to offer Napoli a qualifying offer, which would have been $13.3 million. I think for fear that he might have taken it, and that would have been money allocated to Napoli so early in the offseason when the Rangers do have a few needs. So he ends up getting $13 million for 3 years, which means he likely would have declined that. But that's easy to say now. It was a difficult call then. The Rangers didn't want to take any chances. But for Napoli, it's a multi-year deal. It's a chance to get him a lineup to play for a team that's trying to work its way back and in a park that he appears comfortable in. So it's a good deal for Mike Napoli, but it means the Rangers' catching search continues.
Yeah, the other part of it as well is if they had made him that qualifying offer, they would have ended up getting the draft pick. So we'll see what happens for the Rangers in a catching situation going forward. We'll have more with Richard coming up, talking about Josh Hamilton, but talk about Mike Napoli and this signing. What's your take on it?
Well, I think, first of all, for the Red Sox, very important that they get another big bat that can hit 30 home runs in that park. This is a guy that's going to wear out that wall in left field. And playing first base every day for them, Boog, I think is certainly going to help lengthen his career. And look, 2 years down the road when Big Papi retires, he can move over to the DH spot at the back end of this contract. But at the end of the day, I think they did very well. Now, on the other side for Texas, This means they have to make a trade, like Richard said. Now, they've had conversations, ironically, with the Red Sox about Saltalamacchia, who they once had, as well as Ryan Lavarnway. They also have talked to Toronto about JP Arancibia, but they're definitely going to have to do something now that Napoli is signed with Boston.
Right, and I think then the question is, what does this mean for the Red Sox? And clearly, Jim, this takes them out of Adam LaRoche. They won't be a part of that, but they're still a team looking to add one, maybe even two outfitters. Still in on Cody Ross, still in on Nick Swisher, still in on Shane Victorino. Lots of balls in the air still for the Red Sox.
We'll see how things go moving forward with the Boston Red Sox. Will they be a player for Josh Hamilton, who is the elite position player on that free agent market? And we bring Richard Durrett back in to talk a little bit about Josh Hamilton and where he could end up. And Richard, when you look at Josh Hamilton, are the Rangers still a possibility for him?
I think they are. I think it all depends on what the market does. If this market doesn't expand to the 5 or 6 year range guaranteed for Josh Hamilton, I think the Rangers are right in the middle of this. Remember, inherently they've got some advantages. He's played for 5 seasons in Texas. They know him. He knows them. They've got a support system in place. And the Rangers understand how important Hamilton is to the middle of that lineup. They're a right-handed heavy group. He's a big left-handed bat. 43 homers, 128 RBIs. The season did not finish the way he wanted, guys. He had the injury, which was the vision problems, and missed 5 games on a big road trip. He had the big error in center field against the A's that gave Oakland the lead in the division deciding game. And then he was 0 for 4 on 8 pitches in the AL wildcard game. But big picture here is that it's not just about 3 weeks. It's about what he can do for the lineup. Knowing that, though, Hamilton has averaged 123 games per season. So they want to guard a little bit against the idea that this guy could miss time with some nicks here and there and some major injuries, too. I mean, he's missed months at a time in his career. So maybe the solution there is a 3-year deal, possibly a vesting option for a 4th year. But if another team flies in there with 5 or 6 years guaranteed, then I think it's tough to imagine he's back in a Ranger uniform. So far, we haven't heard that's happened. Really, we haven't heard much of anything, guys, because Mike Moy has been very under the radar in these entire negotiations. The Rangers, as a front office, don't talk about anything. So it's been interesting to kind of see what may or may not happen. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more this week. Maybe we won't. Hamilton is here in Nashville. The idea, I think, being to meet with some teams and answer some of their questions as they look for that long-term deal. But if that doesn't materialize to the 5 or 6 year deal, then I think the Rangers are right in the thick of this thing.
All right, Richard, thanks very much. So, Josh Hamilton, besides the Rangers, in your mind, who are the other front runners?
Well, the Boston Red Sox are in. I talked to Larry Lucchino, the president and CEO of the Red Sox, yesterday. He told me they're not going to play at 6, 7, or 8 years, but they do have interest in him. They like him very much, and I think that's a real possibility. And I've always thought, at the very end of the day, that the New York Yankees, as quiet as they've been, as much as they say they're not going to spend money, I've always thought, Boog, at the last minute, Brian Cashman's going to come in with his stealth plane and find a way to pull it off. We'll have to wait and see.
What about you?
I don't know about either of those. I just don't. I think the Yankees are so fixated on getting under that luxury tax number in 2014 and so concerned about Josh Hamilton and all the stuff that swirls around him. I just don't get the vibe that they're in on him. And, Jim, I agree with you on the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox are clearly intrigued by Josh Hamilton. What somebody told me was that the odds of him going there are not 0, but they're not likely. I think the Rangers have really played this well. I mean, the Rangers clearly got the message out there. We don't want to go beyond 3 years. And it's made other teams think, wait, they know this man more than anybody else. If they don't want to go beyond 3 years, how can we? And so the question I have is somebody going to wake up one morning here at Opryland and think, oh, my God, we've got a chance to sign Josh Hamilton and give him that 5th year or that 6th year?
You got any rumors you want to spit out there real quick?
Just last, once Josh Hamilton signs, if it's with Texas, Greinke's going to sign right after that. I expect it to be one of the Los Angeles teams, but they're going to hold off to see if Josh stays or leaves before they make their final decision.
Rumor?
Well, you know, the Mets are ramping up their talks about R.A. Dickey. The sense I get is, you know, I think they were mixed for a while on whether they want to trade him or extend him. They're much more serious about their trade talks now than they were at the GM meetings.
Okay, stay tuned. Baseball Tonight's continuing coverage here on ESPN.com for the 2012 Baseball Winter Meetings. For Jim Bowden and Jason Stark, I'm John Chomley. So long from the Opryland Hotel.